Yo. Hello.
Yo. Hello.
Alright.
Yo.
Turn off my phone, because don't want that echo in my live review. What up, Internet? Just waiting for some people to file in here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Oh, I see somebody else. I see somebody else is watching. Make sure you guys guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Don't know if you read that in chat, but very important. Oh, there he is. What up, dude? What up, Dan? How we doing? See if anybody else shows up to my fancy review. Hey, there he is, Silly D. How's it going? Hopefully my dog doesn't intervene in this review. She's sitting on my lap like a good girl right now. Everybody say hi to Maggie. Dong Eater, yeah, that was my second character. So I wanted to start by showing the screen with my characters here, because you can see the hours clocked I have in this game. It's pretty uncommon for me to have 400 hours in a video game. So you could say I'm definitely part of the From Software cult. I've now played Demon Souls. I started with that one back in the PS3 days, and then I played all of the Dark Souls games, all of the DLCs. Oh yeah, this Elden Ring is... I'll just start off by saying, because I'm gonna shit on this game quite a lot. This is a 5 out of 5 in my book. You know, it's a great game. It's one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion. But once you have 400 hours in it, you start to see the seams, and you start to see how the game is kind of held together with gum and band-aids and duct tape. So I wanted to go through all that because I anticipate that From Software is going to make some sort of sequel or spiritual successor to Elden Ring. And I don't see a lot of people talking about the issues that this game has, or people like to glaze over it. And they like to just compliment the game and say it's the GOAT. And I, respectfully, I guess I agree. It's one of the GOATs. You have to give it credit where it's due. If only for the massive ambition of this game. It's insanely huge and ambitious, and it's a miracle that anything works or came together like it did, in my opinion. Also, I just want to check with you guys, is the mic coming through good? How's the audio? Because this is the first time I've ever streamed on my PS5, so shoot me a message in chat while I pet my dog and take a drink of water. Nice. Good to hear. Alright, well, I'll just jump in the game, start talking about my thoughts. This is the first character I played the game with. I still had it when I started up Elden Ring on PS5, and I carried it all the way through to the end of the DLC. You can see I'm wearing all the beefcake armor. This is basically just a weapon master type character. I was like, what are all the weapons I can use? And I just went ham with strength and dexterity. So the first thing I want to talk about when I criticize this game is, holy shit, this menu, these menus in this game. Like, let's just look at my character status menu right now. This is a nightmare. And this is the same RPG setup as Demon's Souls, which released, let me check my notes, when did that game release? 2009. Like, holy shit, they've carried this all the way through for fucking 15 years of game design. And there's been some changes here and there, but the way you level up and increase your character's power, the integers, it's all the same shit that they've been doing for this long. And I think at this point, after having played these games for so long, it's a little tiresome. And I think for new players, which I know a lot of players jumped in for the first time on Elden Ring, like, what the fuck do I even do with this? There's all these stats you can increase, and just on the face, it's like, okay, clearly strength means I hit harder, you know? And you can pull up the help menu. Oh yeah, I'm an old man screaming at cloud. Let's look at the explanation. And you can get an explanation of this, but you really have to read the screen to realize you can even pull up this help menu that tells you what increasing all of these does. And yes, Dan is 100% correct. The hidden stat caps on all of these, which is in every From Software game, it's really, with the diminishing returns, yes, it's a lot to read, you know? You look at all the defense power, and like, clearly it's like, okay, magic attacks and fire attacks, I want more defense power. But it's not exactly clear what those numbers do until you've played 6 of these fucking games, and it's like, okay, I kind of get what they're getting at. And this isn't the only stat menu. So let's look at, you look at status here. So there's defense and damage negation. And this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, the game's a little bit of a mess, or it's held together by duct tape. Is you actually have 2 different properties which govern how much damage your character takes when they get hit by an attack. And it's very unclear and difficult to understand, and From Software doesn't like to tutorialize, which is okay, that's fine. You know, they have their method and they're sticking to it. But I think it's time, after 6 games with the same system, for somebody, I'm firmly in the From Software cult. I'm gonna play all their games. I love all their games. I love this game deeply, but I have to shit on it because I'm like, some of this shit sucks, and you guys could streamline some of it for sure. So I do want to throw praise at this game, since I just immediately went into the badgering attacks. The volume of options. Oh yeah, 1,000th of a decimal. So that's a percentage value for your damage negation. And then it's like extends out to 1,000th of a decimal. And the way you stack up your damage negation is all multiple. It's like multiples. So, like, you would think, okay, my armor, I just put my armor on, and then I have 20%. and then you add all of these, but that's not actually how it works. There's some sort of process through which all of these get multiplied together, so it's not really clear. Once you have all of your stuff stacked up, all of your options, which there's a huge volume of character options in this game that you can see I'm going through right now. These are just like your accessories that you can attach to your character. And one thing that got introduced with the DLC, well, it was introduced in the main game, but even further fleshed out in the DLC, is like there's now upgraded versions of all of these different talismans that you can attach. So like this is the most basic of talismans. Raises maximum hit points, right? Greatly raises maximum hit points. We didn't need 4 of these. We didn't need that. It's too much. And I think what happened is they got carried away with the scale of this game. Which, let me zoom out. This is just the Shadow Realm map. So this is just the DLC content. And you can see I'm like a huge fanboy. I didn't even fill out this map, this Fog of War area here. I didn't even collect that. So for me, like, you can kind of see this game is crumbling under the weight of its ambition a little bit. It still works. I just want to say that it definitely still works, and I had a fucking blast with this game, and I will continue to. It's one of those games I have 4 characters in the process of playing through this game at different points. It's overbearing and it's huge, and the scale of this game, the raw scale of this game. This is the underground areas. This is the above ground areas. This is the DLC area. When you add all of this shit together, it's too much. It's too much. And I do want to throw praise at, like, this is one of my favorite areas in the game, Jagged Peak. Aesthetically, this game is pretty much the best game. It's the best game. It has for all my qualms with the volume of content and how there's too much content, there's like everything you could possibly imagine as far as a fantasy world, and it goes even beyond, you know, your expectations for a high fantasy world. So this is another area here. Like, you can see there's a lot of thought and concept poured into the construction of these areas. The finger ruins here. And once you get into the story of this game is amazing as far as, like, presenting you a fantasy world that isn't just Lord of the Rings again. You know, the fantasy elements or even sci-fi elements they put into this game are outstanding. Just really good stuff, and there's a lot to delve into because the game isn't exactly forthcoming with its plot elements. Which you could say, I've seen people on both sides say, like, oh, this is a real drag that they don't just tell you all this stuff. For those of you not in the know, so much of this game's storyline is told from just item descriptions. So you read, like, descriptions of armor of all these different characters, and it tells you, like, this is one of the armors that you get from a boss, and you can see that the item description gives you a little bit of history. Oh, now I'm getting killed by a giant hand. Well, it wouldn't be an Elden Ring review without me getting smoked. Let me see if I can kill this guy. This game has such a breadth of enemies and such a crazy, blown out amount of options to kill characters and enemies with that it's hard to even throw shade at it. Like, I think there's somewhere in the count of 400 weapons in this game. There's hundreds of spells for you to cast if you want to go the route of the spellcaster. As far as living out your action RPG fantasy of like building a character and playing that character and finding new options for the character throughout the game, it fairly succeeds. But I do want to say, like, I would, as somebody who's experienced a lot of what this game has to offer, there's a lot of chaff in this weapons list. There's a lot of shit here that just sucks. So it's crazy that they gave you something like 400 options to play around with. Like, that is outstanding, and we have to acknowledge, like, the ambition and the scale of this game, even though it's blown out to a huge degree, and there's probably too much stuff in it. All the stuff is cool to look at. There's so many weapons that even if it's 30% of them that are really viable, it's still 130 weapons or something like that you can play around with for your character. And that number kind of varies because there's sort of a thing going on with the difficulty of this game where this game is about your skill, you know. This game is about your skill as a player, but it's also about how you weigh and manage the integers of the RPG mechanics, which are horribly convoluted, but you can use them to create some broken characters, you know, that, like, it's not all bad. It's kind of fun once you get into stacking buffs and all that. But I think there's a shorter, narrower path to that sort of success. There's the Shadow Keep. That's the best area in this DLC. It's one of their so-called legacy dungeons. The legacy dungeons are the best part of this game. You can see me riding my horse here, and I have some notes. I wrote the notes in a state of haterism, and I was like, you know, the horse in the open world, it's kind of just a pretty loading screen. And I think that's really debatable. There's a lot of stuff to see and experience in the open world, but I wonder at the cost, the value proposition of all this stuff. I just wanted to take you guys up into the shaman village because this area was like blowing my mind when I first came up here. I'm like, wow, this is so beautiful. Just fields of flowers. It has its own musical theme, and you know, if you play this game, you know why this area is like very special, and it's a big part of the story. But it's not exactly like you just come up here and you get like 2 items and you read the descriptions, and then it's like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on, why this is story significant. So it's like, yeah, they have like a lot of effort put into the areas here, but they're not super forthcoming. It creates a unique vibe for these From Software games. Like, you have to invest and be a detective. Oh, this is a nice view. You have to invest and be a detective about the storyline in these games. I started playing Ghost of Tsushima recently, which is it's kind of funny because it's an open world RPG, but it's not even comparable to this. It's so different, and the story presentation in that game it's really a breath of fresh air for me after playing so much. Let me read this chat. Reminds me of an Assassin's Creed map. Armored Core. Armored Core is pretty different from this. There's no open world. It's just a mission-based structure. I would say the story presentation in Armored Core has the same sense of they're not really forthcoming with it. You have to dig deep and sort of read into what they're presenting to you. And this is really nice. This is what I mean. Like, there's so many spots in this game where it's like, holy shit, this is beautiful. Really good looking game. And it's everywhere to be found. So that's why I'm like, it's a little harsh to say. Yeah, yeah, the travel vibe, it definitely gives it its own, yeah, photo opportunity. It definitely gives it its own flavor versus the Dark Souls games. I wish they, I hope if they make an Elden Ring 2, I think it's a serious existential problem for them, because I hope in Elden Ring 2 they have to streamline so much of this shit for me to really invest. They have to look at like, okay, this stat screen is just pretty painful. Is there anything that we can like level down and make a little bit more simple or hand for new players? And I think that would be really impressive if they were able to have a game with a similar presentation, but streamline all of the chaff and the extra RPG elements out of it. I think at the end of the day, they're kind of trying to make this skill-based game, but they're tied to their fans want this grand RPG. So that friction has created a lot of the discussion about difficulty, about, you know, like the things that you hear about this game. Oh, it's so hard. It's not really that hard. Actually, 99% of this game is rather cozy and easy to navigate through, in my opinion. There's points of friction here and there. No, that's funny that you say that. That's a shield. I have a shield on my back. This shield, because I'm wearing it on my back, it increases my stamina regen. You can see, if you read the description, it says, the turtle is a symbol of tirelessness, and this shield boosts stamina recovery speed. I know at least one person who played this game, and they did not read any of these item descriptions. So they missed completely all of the storyline. They're like, what fucking storyline? There is no storyline to this game. And the item descriptions give you a little bit of the stat bonuses that the items give you, especially a lot of DLC items give you these stat bonuses you wouldn't even know about, like this one here. Donatello. So this one, like, if you read the item description, it tells you it strengthens aspects of the Crucible incantations, which is like cool. That's fine. But to a lot of people who play this game, that's probably just nonsense. Like, they don't even understand what that even means, you know? Which it speaks to the attention span of the players, and like, it is a double-edged sword that these games are getting popular. Hell yeah, Hammerhead helmet. It's fucking sweet. You gotta love it. Let me throw on the Crucible Knight armor just for fun. That's another good thing about these games is like, goddamn, you can just play Pretty Princess Dress Me Up all you want. Fashion is this shield is not very fashionable. Let's take that off. Oh hell yeah. Look at me. Looking fantastic. So that's the upside of having all these options. You can just go through and like, I don't really like that one. Let me put on this armor and see how that looks. It's sweet. But that's another thing that causes the friction is like all these armors aren't made equally in the stats. So it does kind of there's like a infighting between having a skill-based game, having all these options presented to you, and then also you have to like make sure you're not overloaded in your equipment stats, because if I put on too much armor, I become overloaded, and then my character rolls shitty. I don't know if I can actually overload this character. Let me see here. Gotta throw on a big sword or something. Sure, that'll do. Buster Sword on my back. And it, you know, you see, oh, I want to dress up my character, but you know, now I'm fat rolling, you know, which is another way they. Let me read some of the chat here. I'd streamline the defense items and all of those damage negation stats. It's fun to have a bunch of damage types offensively, but crafting and switching gear against 20 types of damage is fluff. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You get it. 50% of what you pick up as loot is things for niche applications and lessens the excitement of finding them. Yeah, and I think that you get it, dude. You get what I'm saying here. Like, having the game this blown out and, like, gigantic. And they have to keep giving you incentives to explore this world. So they end up putting all these items in the game where it gets less and less exciting to find these items. So I think if they do make an Elden Ring 2, and I definitely worry about this, I think they have to streamline it to a point where it might not even be a recognizable game. And I trust From Software to do this stuff. I definitely think they have the introspection, and I think this is their magnum opus. You know, they wanted to create a game that was just like you could play for so many hours and have this 3 games in 1 Dark Souls experience of traveling the world and grand adventure and fulfilling the promise of Ocarina of Time from the Nintendo 64 game, Nintendo 64 days, where it's like, yeah, you can just go anywhere in this world and you can see things in the distance and ride to them, and there's always something in your view because of the verticality and the gigantic things they put in this world, where it's like, yeah, I want to go over there and check that out. I want to see this. And it's definitely awesome in that aspect. But for me, it's become a little tiresome. You can see I'm just kind of warping around here and checking out these different locations in the world that I thought were fantastic. This game just has a lot to offer to players, and I want to recommend it to everybody, but it is kind of hard to get into unless you have this legacy knowledge and skill like I have from playing Dark Souls. Not to say I'm like the world's best Elden Ring player or anything, but like people gassed up the DLC saying, oh, this is so fucking hard. This is the hardest shit ever. And there was like 2 bosses where I was like, okay, this is going to take a little time for me to learn. But aside from that, like, man, I breezed through. And the thing about it that's funny to me is like people like to talk about how hard Elden Ring is. This game is cozy as hell to me. I just like play it to vibe out, try out different character items. To be fair, a lot of this book can be ignored, but the main problem is players are just going to start ignoring everything they pick up when they realize 5% of it applies to their character. Yeah, no, you can see, like, I missed this chunk of the map here. I still went through, I beat every main boss of the DLC. I missed this chunk of the map there. I missed so much shit. I missed Temple Town. I didn't fight the... I didn't go in here. I didn't fight the second Divine Beast Dancing Lion. I was like, after I beat the last boss of the DLC, I was like, done, you know? And that's not really a feeling I desire to have for one of these games. Like, I don't want to be burnt out after playing one of these games. I want to get a fulfilling experience and then walk away happy. It's a bit like when you go to holiday dinner, your grandma's cooked you all this food, and you want to sample everything. But by the time you get to, like, dinner time, you've actually filled up on all of the appetizers that she made, and you're like, oh man, is this ever gonna end? And then you get, like, hits of the classic recipes, like grandma's turkey recipe is the best turkey anybody's ever cooked. So you still get these hits here and there, Then you get to dessert, and by dessert you're just suffering. Yeah, dopamine hits our drain. By dessert you're just suffering, but you know, like, that banana pudding that your grandma makes, oh, it's gonna be so good. So you force more down, and you just end up, like, bloated and sick at the end of it. You're like, oh, God. So, that's one thing I really want to talk about in this review is, where do they go from here? Because they've made this game that is, like, it's unreasonable to think they're going to deliver a game of this scale again. So, I hope that Bloodborne is a stake. That's what I appreciate about Bloodborne. It's you get in, you get out. There's a little bit of extra here and there if you really want to indulge on it. But you can just get in and get out of that game in about 30 to 40 hours, and it's so fulfilling, you know? And a lot of the Dark Souls games are that way too. So I appreciate, they went through and let me get out of the map because it's kind of boring to look at. You can choose to have the potato chalice dungeons, yes. Or in this game, it's like, you gotta eat grandma's mashed potatoes because she makes it every time. But also there's another potato dish, potatoes au gratin, that she makes. And you're like, oh man, I want to get some of that too. But by the time you get there, you're like, oh, I've already had a potato. I've had my starches for the day. And then she made a rice dish too for some reason. Making me hungry. Yeah, I was thinking of this yesterday. I was like, it's a really apt description because everybody loves their grandma. Everybody loves grandma's cooking. Let me go here. This is a pretty cool place. Everybody loves grandma's cooking. That's how I feel about From Software games. Let them cook. Let them keep making games. I'm not that hard tied to what they do in the future of these franchises. I'm still going to play them, but it'd be a little disappointing to me if they just kind of rested on their laurels a bit. I think because of the vast success, this is their most sellingest game of all time. It's funny because, I want them to continue challenging themselves as developers. And this game is sort of the culmination of everything you could want from a fucking birds. Oh, is he gonna kill me? I'm not gonna heal. Fuck that. Got him. Alright. Life bar is a little low. I don't want them to rest on their laurels too much, I want them to challenge themselves as developers. I think Dark Souls is done. Elden Ring is the Dark Souls killing game. Like, how much more appealing, how many more options could you really get? Could you get any more blown out than this game without it just being like 17 swords that are all swinging the same animation? Which they do a great job of. They do a great job of at least making a lot of these weapons unique, even if a lot of them do suck. But like this thrusting shield that I found in the DLC, this appealed to me massively because they've never done a weapon like this before. It has many unique properties. I was like, hell yeah, I'm getting into that. Let me read Dan and the Planet. It's funny because Elden Ring is a full table of food. The Bloodborne kind of tells you how to play too much. So have we arrived at Dark Souls 1 being the best? Yeah. That would be my hot take. I think Dark Souls 1 is the best. Because it's not about the option bloat. It's just like, go through the game, have this Metroidvania experience, and like, it's not overbearing or huge. It's pretty fulfilling in its size and scope. Whereas this game is like staple 4 Dark Souls games together now. Grandma, I've had too much. I cannot possibly have any more dessert. Please, stop feeding me. I don't care how aesthetically... I know you read Julia Child's book, and you were like, let me... 5 more recipes. Yeah, very little Dark Souls 1. But you're too skinny, eat. No, Miyazaki. I cannot possibly eat anymore. Yeah. So I'm just gonna kill these birds. This game has, I think the thing about this game that makes it hard to criticize is, like, even though it is, like, kind of bloated, like, everything looks so cool. There's not really complaints you can put towards enemy variety. This game has more enemies in it than any other fucking game. It's unbelievable how much shit is in this game, and all the enemies have these different behaviors. Let me go to the DLC. Somehow they've like, oh yeah, it's eye candy big time. Somehow they've like just blown it out. Like, I don't know, their concept artists over there are insane. I have to look up and throw some respect at their names. Like, all the artists who worked on this game, insanely talented. Look at this fucking guy. Look at this guy. Turn around. Oh man, look at this guy. He's so fucking cool. How are they still coming up with cool shit like this? Let me kill him. Grow up. Be better. So that would be my main. It's too much game. It's too much game. Let's see what else I got on my notes page here. Yeah, the dungeons. I've always said it's From Software's double album, like their White Album. It has some of the best, some of the worst work on it. It's almost unavoidable for the best parts of the outshine. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the interesting thing to talk about with this game is, like, where do they go from here? What could they, I think they got to do something completely different after this. I think they've fulfilled the prophecy of having, like, the greatest fantasy action RPG of all time. And now let's see what else they got. Tears of the Kingdom, yeah. Still haven't played that. It's funny to see all these open world action games with just vastly different mission statements, and people want to compare them. People want to say this game is like From Software's version of Breath of the Wild. Man, I played probably 5 hours of Breath of the Wild. I did not get any. I didn't get any of that. I got the main thing I got that they took for this game from Breath of the Wild is the bloated ass crafting system that I really don't like. I think the item crafting in this game, hell yeah. Just looking at this Tears of the Kingdom commentary. Yeah, 5 years making something that big. That's the thing with these games is, like, how can you get more ambitious than this game with all of these bosses? I think another area in which this game is straining to entertain is the emphasis on iframes. Invincibility frames. The dodge roll, for those not in the know, the dodge roll has frames in which you're invincible. And I think the bosses that they've added to this DLC, they really push those iframes to a degree where it's like, alright, how much further are we going to take this? Because dodging all of these, this boss has 30 attacks, dodging all of these attacks is a chore. And, like, don't get me wrong, I had a great time. Let's see if I can get summoned in to fight fucking Mesmer here. I had a great time fighting all the bosses. The bosses in the DLC are some of the best they've ever made, but simultaneously it's like, okay, I don't really want to continue with this shit, you know? Like, do something different. And that's why I kind of reverted to the shield build. Yeah, the last boss, the Promised Consort, Yeah, he's a proper final challenge, but it feels like the swan song of the invincibility frame. And you could title this review Swan Song of the Invincibility Frame because like it's done, dude. We can't do this anymore. I think a lot of people are getting real tired of it. And that's understandable because it's like a lot. It's a lot to do this over and over. Yes, Elden Ring is Demon Souls just blown out in scope. And I think the views are nice. Hey, what's up? Are we gonna... Oh, we want to go through this? I want to kill the boss, dude. Alright. This is another area, too, in which, like, the game has such ambition, and it's just, like, so huge. Like, yeah, let's kitchen sink it. Let's throw this stapled on co-op system, and like, we'll probably get invaded here. Let's just throw all that in. Why not? I think the lack of restraint is, like, a lot. And, like, dude, I'm 36, like, I did love, like, playing this game continuously for a long time. And I will continue to play this game. I need to drink up. But it's also like I would respect a little restraint in the future of whatever franchise, whatever they're gonna do here. And I think that's the overarching message here is like, let's see something different than crazy manic rolling through boss attacks, iframes. Like let's see From Software, even though I'm like, I'm gonna buy whatever they make. Let's see what else they can do. Because 15 years of this shit, it's on the verge of stagnation. Even with all the strong concepts in this game. Like, good lord, all the concepts, the story, the fantasy art, it's amazing. You know, it can't be understated. It can't be stated enough. It's really good. But we're done, you know? So I don't know. What else do I got here to talk about? I do want to say one thing on the fantasy elements in this game and how I said this is not just Lord of the Rings again. Like, there's dragons all over this game, you know? Oh, fuck this guy. There's dragons all over this game, you know? But they're the best dragons that we've ever seen in anything. I mean, there's some dragon fights. Let me just leave this guy's world. I wanted to display one of the bosses, but let's do this. I'll go to Baal and fight Baal. I'll probably die. I'll fight Baal with somebody. Miyazaki's an auteur. He's trying to perfect the same thing. Who knows how truly different the next one will be. Yeah. I would hope it's very different. I hope it's not even called Elden Ring. I don't want to play another Elden Ring. Or even anything that tangentially related to Dark Souls. Like, don't get me wrong, this shit is great. It's great. But let's see some different stuff. And I think Armored Core 6 is a step in the right, tangentially. Armored Core 6 is a step in the right direction. Like, there's some shit from Dark Souls in that game, for sure. Like, the boss fights and the stagger system was taken from Sekiro. I think Sekiro is what happens when you take the RPG elements and dial them way back. Yeah, they're infinitely replayable. With caveats, like, I don't want to go do the shitty repetitive dungeons again just to get all the talismans. But they are replayable. Like, there's so many different ways to approach, even if it is 30% of the options being really that good. There's so many ways to approach, and So many things to appreciate in this game. Hell yeah. Let's see if I can see what I can do against Vale here. Probably gonna get smoked. This is spoilers for one of the probably the best boss in the DLC. Sorry. Just the art design on this guy, like holy shit, this is the one of the coolest dragons of all time. It's like it doesn't get much better. Something incredible. That's what I like about these messages. Is like, yeah, that's true. Even though this is like the message system is like some sort of wild vestigial limb. Let me tank him. You're not wearing tanky stuff. What the fuck? The message system and the blood stains. It's just like a nostalgia piece at this point. After playing these Dark Souls games, like we don't really need this stuff anymore. But it's good to see. It's like comfort food. That's why I say this game is so cozy. Right in my face. What up, dude? Iframes. I do appreciate, like, they give you some other options to use instead of iframes in this game. Because you know, you go back and you play Bloodborne. Bloodborne has just iframes for dodging, and it has the life regain. This game at least has, like, I have Raptor of the Mists that I can use to teleport when somebody hits me. And why am I whipping so much? That's the big drawback of this shield setup is it's stubby as hell. But there's a lot less emphasis on spacing in this game, and I think like they could make a game with like crazy spacing. They have the talent there. They could be like, let's make the game all about spacing. Let's make these beat 'em up mechanics. Let's use more of the beat 'em up mechanics than just the iframe that you get in these beat 'em up games from, you know, 1993. Let's go back to the basics. And I died. Good luck. So yeah, that's Vale. We didn't even get to see him transform. God damn it. Yeah, guard counter is awesome. I like that they're trying to do more than just the iframe in this game. But, you know, I think people haven't caught on. That's why a lot of people think, like, Promised Consort is he's, like, unbeatable. It's because they're just trying to iframe through all of his attacks. If you just do that, like, holy shit, he's very hard. Like, they made him to where you should use a shield. And I think that's the thing, like, when you make a game where the community is like, this game has to be extremely hard, and then, like, half of the game is just managing the RPG mechanics and making yourself, like, harder to kill, increasing your life pool and all that, and people, like, still want to limit themselves or restrict themselves, it's really kind of a catch-22. And it would be, I think a lot of people appreciated Sekiro for its stripped down RPG mechanics, and it's just about the options, you know? It's just about, like, how good are you at sword fighting? How good are you at the parry mechanic? And then, yeah. Strength to equip a shield that works so they feel stuck on that boss. Yeah, and that's the double-edged sword of having an action RPG, right? Because if you change up your build, which you can do very easily in this game, you know, you can go and if you have an understanding of how this bullshit ass stat screen works, you can go and like respec, and thank God they put that in the game and made it so readily available, because a lot of people need that. to get ahead in this game. They need to be able to change up their build, and but it's gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm really done with all the incremental stat increases, and that's why I've been appreciating about Ghost of Tsushima. It's like very pared down and streamlined, and I'm not really like this game has to have. Yeah, it's an action RPG requiring a lot of player skill. You know, there's a lot of punishing mechanics, but then people want to criticize it for not letting them play it however they want. And that the one person I know who really hates this game, I think like he wanted to play it a certain way and he was inflexible. Yeah. Yeah, ignore my stat block, like Symphony of the Night. Yeah, Symphony of the Night, another all-timer, another great game that has serious issues, you know? I replayed that game like 2 months ago, and like, I love it to death. I love that game, but by the end of it, I was like, I just want to revert to mindless smashing, because interfacing with the action elements of that game isn't very compelling to me. And this game has really compelling action elements, but it also has like, it's muddied by how much this status screen really influences your action game experience. And if people don't like recognize that, I like that you can equip everything you get in Symphony of the Night. Yeah, and like Bloodborne too, it's really easy to get item requirements. It's not that crazy with the item requirements. Like, oh, my strength doesn't have to be like, you know, a certain amount to wield everything. I definitely wish it was like that. I wish it was like less. I think they've gone to a point where you can sort of influence your character build through use of talismans by using these. If you need a great shield, you can still have it. Yeah, you can use these talismans you can use the flask, the temporary buff, to give yourself the strength required to use like a bigger shield that will get you through a hard fight. But a lot of people are like, I don't want to use a shield. It's not part of my character fantasy. And it's like, well, I can't honestly say this game is for you if you're not going to compromise with it and be like, okay, I'm gonna use a great shield just to make some fights easier or more manageable. A lot of people are at that point. That I think this is the real issue with people making a big fuss about the difficulty in the DLC. People are at that point where they're like stuck in their ways, and they're like, I saw a Maximilian dude play through this game, and he just basically used the same shit the whole time. I'm like, this game has 400 fucking weapons, and you're not willing to like try out different shit. And it's a lot of shit that you could try out might make the game easier for you. I think a lot of people aren't interfacing with this game in that way, and maybe it's partially the game's fault. You know, the presentation of these stats, it's not good. It's hard to understand, and especially like understanding like all these stats have different caps at which you should level them. Like, you shouldn't go beyond 60 vigor, even though you can go to 99. You can waste a bunch of your character levels doing that. Like, you should not. It's bad, and the game does not communicate that well. So there's a communication issue. There's an overwhelming amount of options that like, yeah, dude, the cross-eyed aspect, like looking at all these stats since 2009, like I'm done, dude. Please don't put this in the next game. Jesus Christ. Like, do something a little different. Pare it down. I don't really care. I don't think the RPG elements are the good part. I think the action elements are the really good part. Let's fucking put on this giant sword for fun. Bitch. Probably not geared out for this. Not geared out for this at all. I'm glad this DLC has been mostly me just dying. Hey, look how pretty the world is. Let me just get my ass kicked. Yeah, that's about all I really have to convey about this game. I would heartily recommend it. The value proposition is insane on this game. You know, for the complete edition, I think is like $80, and I've played 400 hours of this game. I still haven't done everything. There's still a lot for me to delve into, and like replayability is crazy in this game, and there's so much goofy, broken shit in it that I think a lot of people are gonna have a fun time once they get into finding the good options, and once they parse the convoluted ass, the super convoluted stat system that they keep porting over to these games. Ultimately, it's still a worthwhile experience. Still 5 out of 5. Even though I've spent 40 minutes just shitting on it, like, it's still incredible, and there's so much good that it's hard to. It's really hard for me to just be like, you know, fuck this game. Even though I've had my frustrations with it, I still I find the fun, and I think I'm really good at finding the fun in these types of games because I played so many of them, you know, because I've gone through the process of seeing what all of them have to offer. I'm like the target audience for this game. But now that we have more people getting into these games, it's like, let's maybe in the next one introduce, I don't want to say accessibility, but just like streamline some of this stuff where it's not so hard to look at, and it doesn't feel so mind-numbing to interface with it. Like, emphasize the action elements, emphasize the different options that are now in the game for dealing with enemy attacks, rather than just like dodge roll everything. Like, we're beyond that now, and I think they've skirted that a little bit with some of the options you have here with shields and Raptor of the Mists. I think we need a little bit more, and then we'll be golden, you know. And then just take out half the weapons and emphasize impenetrable without a lot of understanding. Yeah. If you're not, I understand why people bounce off of this game. I understand why my friend Ryan is like totally done with this game. He's like, I cannot play that game anymore. And he's like, dude, you got to play Ghost of Tsushima. It's the best action RPG. I get where he's coming from with that, even though like his takes are kind of wild on this game. I get, like, this game is fucking overwhelming, and it's a lot, and it's understandable to say I'm not doing that anymore. Because I'm a big fan, and I'm still at the point where I'm like, all right, I could probably not play the next one if it's just going to be like this again. Overloaded? Get the hell out of here. All right. So you can see I have a giant's gory arm that I'm using as a weapon. How many games have that? Ask yourself that. 10 out of 10. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm cooking up some more stuff. I'm just giant chicken leg. That's what people call it, the chicken leg. And when you smash it down, it creates a blood splatter. Hell yeah, dude. Awesome. Thanks for watching this shit. More stuff is in the pipeline. I've been away from this for a while because I've been dealing with real life stuff, and you know, life happens. But I have a passion for discussing this stuff, and there's probably some things in this review I missed. We were talking about maybe doing a roundtable discussion, like podcast style, with some of my friends, but the logistics of that wouldn't have worked out for this. Let me get stabbed. Oh! The logistics wouldn't work out for today, but I do maybe want to do that and see what other people have to say, because I feel like at this point I am like maybe looking a gift horse in the mouth a bit by complaining. Like, there's not much to complain about. The game is still just a fantastic experience. Yeah, let's do a Zoom call. Let's get Bill Gates, see what his experience was with Elden Ring. Let's Skype it, you know? Everybody remembers Skype. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you on another time. Later.